Hello, Cancer, and welcome to your reading. This is Bright Soul Collective Tarot. My name is Laura, and these will be your intuitive insights and advice for the month of January 2023. And because we're getting a late start, we'll extend the timeline into about the first week of February. That way, it'll give a little bit of a buffer, so I have some time to get next month's readings out as well. So, this reading will be for Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. And by all means, if you know all three major placements, you can listen to any of the readings that apply, as they may each resonate differently for you. And as always, before we get started, do keep in mind these readings are general in nature, which means that they're meant to apply to a more broad collective of individuals. So not necessarily every detail or everything that I say will resonate for you specifically. If it does resonate for you, I highly recommend you take anything and everything that does. Use your discernment in what is right for you and what applies to your specific situation, and you can simply leave the rest. So, Cancer, Happy New Year, happy 2023. I hope you guys are all doing well. If you've been with me before, if you're returning, welcome back. And I'm sorry, I was a little bit MIA the last couple of months of the year. Kind of just had some wild stuff going on. It was one thing after another and some kind of rough energies we were working through. So I just kind of had to pull back and focus on myself and my family. I wasn't really doing much in the way of energy work. So I'm super happy to be back here reading for you now that things have kind of evened out. And if you are new and this is your first time visiting, welcome. And thank you so much for being here, sharing this time and space with me. I'm so excited to be here and to get into your reading for this month. So before we get into your oracle card and then the tarot, and then after that, I'll share channeled messages that I took some time to connect with before I got your reading started. I will share with you the general kind of energy that I was picking up on as I was preparing for your reading. So the one thing that I noticed is I kept getting chills down my spine. And it's not just like, every so often. It was almost constant. Like there would be a wave of chills going down my spine. And almost as soon as it stopped, it would start again. And it was almost like exacerbated anytime I moved. It was just like, yeah, I've never quite experienced anything like that before. So I don't know if that means anything to you, just me saying that. Perhaps that's something that happens to you. Maybe you're particularly sensitive to temperatures, to cold. Maybe, it's like those types of experiences where something happens, either like positive or negative, that kind of gives you the chills. I'm not sure. It could be that you're feeling a little bit under the weather, but it could also be in the sense of like, your spidey senses tingling. So I would say just because it, and it's still kind of happening to me now. I would say pay attention if you experience that kind of energy that like chills down your spine, goosebumps kind of thing. Pay attention to when you experience that and what's going on, what you're feeling or picking up on, what kind of circumstances you're in. It'll be different for every one of you if that's something that you experience, but there may be something there for you. The next thing that kind of I picked up was there was very much a focus on love. So like giving love, receiving love, also focusing on who really loves you, like who sees you for who you are, who appreciates you, who makes space for you, who encourages you, right? So going where the love is kind of thing. Being able to the word conjure came to mind. Conjure love. That's not the right word that I'm looking for. But basically being able to cultivate love, however that means to you. And then the next thing that I noticed is I had a really consistent tingling in my throat and like throat chakra. So if you're someone who's into chakras, maybe that has some significance to you. If that piques your interest at all, maybe after this reading, do some Googling on the throat chakra, and, see if there's any kind of connection there for you. It's often the way that we express ourselves, the way we use our voice, the way that we speak our truth, authenticity, that kind of stuff. So, it might be not speaking up enough. Maybe you've been speaking up too much, but it also could have to do with the way that you communicate, the way that you express yourself, the words that you say. Yeah, I don't know how that might apply, so I'm going to leave that there. So we're going to get into your cards. Forgive me if I sound a little congested. I'm not sick. I just did an activation from another tarot reader's video, and it was like really kind of moving. So now I'm a little bit congested and hoarse after shedding some tears. So your card for this month is Not For You. Cancer. So I'm sure that all of you, being your unique and beautiful selves, have a uniquely distinct set of circumstances that you're currently dealing with. And I hate to be the one to deliver this to you, but whatever that thing that's on your mind, you'll each know what it is, or if there is a thing that's kind of been on your mind, something you've been wanting, maybe something you haven't been wanting, something that you've been thinking about or weighing pros and cons or kind of going back and forth on. It could be a decision. This is basically kind of saying that it's a no. And of course, I don't know you or your specific situation, so I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just relaying what the energy in the card is highlighting. And this is basically saying that if you are in a position where you have been questioning yourself, or maybe you've been doubting another person, maybe there's a situation at hand, a decision that needs to be made, a direction that you need to go in, something that isn't quite sitting with you, but you haven't been ready to kind of branch off in one direction or another, like make a decision. Maybe you've been feeling a little bit stuck. This is basically encouraging you to go with your gut when you know something is not for you, right? So it's kind of saying, like, inevitably in our human experience, there are going to be things that are just not for us, right? They don't align, they don't serve us, they aren't in our best interest, they aren't really meant to be. And the thing is, like, energetically, when it comes to your path and the experiences that you're meant to have, if something is not for you, there really isn't any making it work, right? You can't force it, right? You can't force your circumstances. You can't force luck. You can't force a door to open. And you certainly can't force other people to be a certain way or to want a certain thing. So this is basically saying, like, whatever that thing is, chances are it's not meant to be at this time. And you'll know, obviously, if what you're thinking about, you're absolutely 100% sure intuitively that it is for you. But if you were, you probably wouldn't have any question in mind. So the point of this is not to be discouraged, right? Because the whole vibe of this card is that rejection is divine protection. And if you don't align with something and it's not for you, or it's not meant to be, although that can be a difficult situation to be in, and obviously there are emotions that go along with that. There can be some struggle, there can be grief, right? It's not a fun energy to contend with. Nobody likes feeling rejected. Nobody likes feeling as though the thing that they want the most is being withheld from them. But that is this energy. It's like, no matter what you do, no matter how hard you work, no matter what kind of time and effort you put into it, the result that you're looking for seems to elude you. And if that's the case, this is just confirmation that, you can keep chasing and chasing, but it's not necessarily meant for you, at least not right now. It doesn't mean never. It might just be it's not the right timing. But yeah, the beautiful thing is that in acknowledging that something isn't for us, or someone isn't for us, or, a job, a field of study, a hobby, a relationship, a person, it's acknowledging that as much as that can be disappointing, especially if we really like that person or we had very high hopes, especially if we're afraid that we're not going to find anything else or anything similar, this is assuring you that if you've run into a situation where your best efforts, that end result is still eluding you, to take heart, because rejection is divine protection, and you're only going to be rejected or redirected because there's something bigger and better waiting for you. So this is kind of like reassurance that it feels like a loss. It is a loss, but it's not the end of your story, kind of thing. Like there's more out there for you, and it's kind of seeing whatever this is as a blessing in disguise. So you might not know what's going to happen or how it's going to pan out for you. But this is basically saying, like, if something's being withheld, it's because there's something else, there's something better, there's something that you need to connect with that's going to be more aligned or more helpful. And if you're tied up trying to force something to work that inevitably isn't right or isn't going to work out for you in the long term, you're just tying up that energy, kind of trying to fight off the inevitable when you could potentially be moving more quickly in the direction of something, because it's saying like spirit kind of has your highest good at heart and in mind. And we don't always know what that looks like or how that's meant to play out, right? Because we don't have that kind of, wisdom, I suppose. So yeah, this is asking for trust and surrender. Especially if it's something that you've really been pushing for, something you've really been focused on or obsessing over, or just like, really kind of consumed by. It's not as a result of you not having done the work, right? It's not anything wrong with you. But, fantasizing, obsessing, trying to overlook the things that are just not really working for you, it's not going to serve you in the long run. And the easiest way to kind of lean into this rejection and redirection is just complete surrender. And this is also talking about failure. So this could be a failure of any kind. So it's like fail fast, learn, and get back up. And, eventually you will succeed, right? It just might not be in this circumstance. Like you might not win at this game right now. It might be something completely different, but it's like you just keep going, you keep trying, and you will win, you will succeed. It's not going to pan out necessarily the way that you're hoping for right now. And you might see further down the line that is a blessing. But yeah, and it's also saying that like some things, some experiences, some relationships have an inherent seed of failure embedded in them, right? Like they're not meant to be, they're not meant to last. If anything, they may be meant to activate us, to show us what we don't want, to help us get clear on our values, to test us, to challenge us so that we can learn to like speak up and use our voice, and to honor ourselves by making decisions that we know are right. And it's funny because even the fortune cookie, the little fortune inside says nope. So yeah, unfortunately, Cancer, it's a no, at least for now. But it's remembering that when one door closes, another one opens. Not to use the like cheesy cliche, but it's just trusting that even though this isn't your thing and now is not your time, it doesn't mean you're never going to get to where you want to be, or you're never going to get, find that love, that relationship that you're looking for, or that promotion, or that job, or, the success, or whatever it is that's been kind of eluding you. But it's trusting that, Spirit has your best interests at heart. There are things in motion that we can't possibly know or understand. And it's trusting that at the very least, not having your energy tied up in something that, is never going to be for you, it's never going to really work for you, is giving you the opportunity to have open arms to receive more blessings. So yeah. So I'm going to get you two tarot cards. The first one is going to represent potential challenge this month, and then the second one is going to represent your advice for working through this challenging energy. I keep getting piles of cards turning over for you, so I'm just going to keep going until we get one. Oh, and this is also saying that like sometimes when something isn't right for you, right? So it's not just something's being withheld from you, or somebody else is rejecting you, or something is out of your reach. But it could be that you are engaged in a situation, a relationship, or something that you just kind of know isn't right for you. And with the knowledge that it's not right for you, it can be really hard to commit to continuing that relationship, but it can also be really hard to end it, right? And it doesn't have to be just like a romantic relationship. It can be friendships. It can be, anything, like anything that we engage in or direct our energy towards. So you may be the one making the decision, like, I know it's not for me. I'm going to trust my gut. I have to remove myself from the situation, or I have to reject this opportunity or reject this person. And is basically saying, like, you don't have to feel bad about doing that. It's not personal, right? It's, it would be doing a disservice to you and to the other person or the other party involved if you were to commit and to continue to try and make something work that your heart isn't really in and that isn't right for you. So you're honoring yourself, and you're also honoring the other person or the other, party, because chances are there's a better fit. So it's like there's a lid for every pot, and maybe this one isn't the best fit, is what the guidebook says, which I thought was kind of cute. Okay. So for your challenge through this month, you've got the Knight of Swords, and the solution is coming up as the Queen of Pentacles with the Six of Cups at the bottom of the deck. So the Six of Cups always reminds me of Cancer energy, because it's kind of warm, focused on the past. It's kind of nostalgic. It's related to memories, childhood, inner child. With the cups, a lot of times it represents to me healing the inner child, reconnecting to the inner child, childhood memories and experiences. For some, those childhood memories and experiences are more difficult and painful than others. For others, they're really warm and joyful. So this is all about how our past has impacted us, and looking back on the past can impact us because we can end up re-experiencing or reliving experiences and emotions from our past. And although that can be, that poses its own challenge, right? It's like the past is done and it cannot be changed. So we can look back to the past for insight as to what we've experienced and how that's shaped us. If it's trauma, it's like figuring out the root of that trauma and, understanding ourselves better in terms of our triggers and struggles. If it's, the warm, fuzzy feelings that we look back on and we wish we could have now, or that we're trying to recreate, it's recognizing that, I don't want to say we have to let go of the past, but we certainly can't spend the majority of our time tied up there, right? So we want to go there to get additional wisdom and insight so that we can be more present, more conscious, and more intentional about the decisions that we're making and the healing work that we're doing and the relationships that we have right now. So it's kind of like a card of looking back. It could be seeing how far you come. Yeah, the connecting to inner child and like childhood relationships, right? So yeah, there may be a sense of like something from your childhood specifically that you're wanting to hold on to, or that you're wanting to recreate for yourself or for others, for your family. And I would just say, if that's the case, like being aware of how that impacts you emotionally, if it's like a healthy connection. Or there could be something from your childhood that you're hanging on to that you're not aware of, like something maybe difficult, something potentially hurtful that could be triggered and showing up in your day-to-day kind of life. But it's attached to our emotions, love, connection, relationships, and stuff like that. So that's underlying at the bottom of the deck. So your focus may be on the past, maybe past, present, future, related to family, childhood, inner child. So that's kind of the underlying energy influencing this. And so for the Knight of Swords to show up as your challenge for this month, the Knight of Swords, it's kind of a funny energy because it's kind of considered to be one of the fastest moving, but also the most like potentially reckless cards in the deck, because knights are cards of action, movement, like forward movement, taking steps toward a goal, allowing our ideas and our desires to motivate us and like kind of going after it, right? And the Knight of Swords tends to have a bit of a like act first, think later energy, even though swords and air signs in general are more about like thinking, thought, analysis, communication, like the like the logical mental body in a lot of cases. So you may be someone that has a difficult time not overthinking, overanalyzing, over planning. And the really wonderful thing about the Knight of Swords is because that analytical need to have a logical plan and be practical kind of in analyzing and thinking about how you're going to achieve something, because that is innately the strength of the sword suit and of air signs. The Knight of Swords is kind of the one that throws caution to the wind and says, like, yeah, like logic and planning and data can only take you so far. At some point, you have to just put it in practice. You have to move. Right? And so it's not even necessarily that there's a lot of action being taken, because it's not like a Pentacles energy where you're working and you're building and creating something, but it's more chasing after. It's like going after boldly whatever it is that you want. So if there's a decision that you've been waiting to make or something that you need to act on, it's trusting that you don't need to spend a huge amount of time overanalyzing or rationalizing, because the thing is, when we get stuck in that overanalysis, we can end up in like analysis paralysis, where we basically talk ourselves out of making a decision or taking action on something, for better or for worse. Right? So you might be trying so hard to be logical and rational or analytical, or you might be justifying things, and you kind of just end up talking or thinking yourself in a circle to the point where there's no clear way forward, or you've just kind of confused yourself. So this Knight of Swords energy is saying, like, hey, I know my truth. I know what's real for me. I know, what I need to do. And I'm just going for it, right? I'm going for it, and I'm going to see how this decision and how this movement impacts my situation, and then I'm going to adapt to it after the fact. So it's kind of like, it also reminds me of like, what is it? Like, it's better to beg for forgiveness than to ask for permission, kind of thing. Like it's like move first and then see what you're working with before you step back to analyze again. So yeah, you may be somebody who just has a hard time letting go of that analysis, and just actually taking action or making the decision, especially if you've been feeling hesitant, especially if you've been going back and forth. So perhaps this is associated to whatever this kind of no energy is. And to help you work through this challenge, you're being encouraged to connect to your, I guess, like your practicality, your inner stability, because the Queen of Pentacles is like the divine mother, like kind of like Mother Earth, right? So it's a very nurturing, maternal, grounded, practical kind of energy. There's a lot of stability. It's connected to your career, your finances, your material possessions, your home and family. And so this is a very stable, self-assured kind of energy. And so it could be a need to recognize your ability, recognize the abundance that you have, or the work that you've done to get yourself to a place of stability, and knowing that you can afford to make moves, right? Because sometimes we hesitate about making decisions because we're afraid about how it's going to impact our circumstances. We might be afraid of how it's going to impact our future, right? So it's like, well, for example, if I'm looking for a partner, if I don't have a partner, then we're not going to have a joint income. And if I don't have a joint income, it's going to be hard to like buy a house or, have children, if that's something that you're interested in doing. Like, this is recognizing that if you're able to recognize and connect with the stability and the abundance, particularly in the material realm, whatever it is that kind of grounds you and is keeping you, it's like a solid constant in your life. It could be work, right? It could be a craft. It could be your family. It could be getting out in nature. But it's kind of like there's a very grounded, confident element to this card. So it's recognizing that, you can make moves. You don't have to be reckless, but you don't have to overthink things to the point of paralysis, because because you're risk averse, right? Like that's kind of what a block with this Knight of Swords energy could be related to. So I'm seeing like this is a very abundant card. It's very stable. It is also a very maternal kind of card. So it indicates that you may be the type of person that takes care of other people. Maybe you play a mother role. Maybe you're like the mom or the dad of your friend group. Maybe you have a connection to motherhood. And it could just be like, you know, that nurturing Mother Earth. Mother Earth provides us with a home. It provides us with sustenance, right? And shelter and everything that we need to be comfortable and to survive. And you've got this kind of queen of that energy showing up, right? So it's trusting in your ability to take care of yourself, your material needs, your physical needs, your health, your body, and even extending that to the people around you that are important to you, and trusting that you don't have to worry about being reckless or deeming yourself reckless just because you're moving more quickly towards something, or you're taking what you would feel is a bit of a risk, right? Because you know what they say, like no risk, no reward. So sometimes we do have to kind of get out of our comfort zone, right? And just make a move, especially if it's something we've been hesitating on. Especially if it's tied to our idea of our self-worth, because this is basically saying like, I think that if you take some time to connect with the abundance in your life and to appreciate it and to ground yourself, to nurture yourself, you'll realize that you have the stability that you need to deal with the unknown and to deal with instability and to take action, even if you don't know exactly how things are going to unfold, and trust that you're solid enough that you're going to be able to handle the consequences, right? You're going to be able to handle whatever comes your way. And that's just going to kind of take you to the next step on your path. So I think that's really beautiful energy. Honestly, I think I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to share with you now the channeled messages that I took some time to connect with before I started your reading. But yeah, and overall this may have something to do with family. So I've got like family, past, inner child. We've got like financial stability, material stability, that kind of maternal, nurturing, parental energy. And then this like, you know, taking action to get things done and, you know, not overthinking. So it's kind of a really mixed bag. But yeah, it may very well have a lot to do with your relationships, your work, your finances, your dreams, or like dreams of a family, or you know, how you grew up versus what you're trying to create for yourself now. Inspiring that, yeah, I don't know, it's really kind of interesting. So yeah, we'll get into your channeled messages. The first thing that came through before I started reading for you was shining your light. So the idea of sharing love, sharing your light, like your goodness, your gifts, the things that you have to offer, right? It's like being able to speak your truth, you know, treating people with kindness and compassion, you know, whatever goodness you have to offer, it's not being afraid to shine your light. It's claiming that, right? So it's like you may be that kind, caring, nurturing, empathetic person. You may be a good listener or someone that people can go to for support, you know, someone who takes care of others. Like, you know, maybe when your friend is sick, you're the one that delivers chicken soup to their door, kind of thing. It's like this is that kind of energy, right? And so it's being willing to shine that light and share those gifts with others, but to know that sometimes we can be kind to everyone, but sometimes we need to save those really specific gifts, like going above and beyond for the people, you know, that we can trust. Because sometimes what happens, particularly if we have a history of people pleasing, or we're really concerned about what other people think of us, is sometimes we'll go out of our way to try and please them or do nice things for them, and then we put ourselves in a position where we might be victimized, right? So people might be taking advantage of us. We don't necessarily attract the right types of energies, and a lot of times that comes when we're acting and doing nice things from a place of lack, like feeling that we need to do something in order to be worthy of love, or we need to do nice things for people in order for them to care about us or want to do nice things for us, or, yeah, that we're just not deserving of love and kindness and compassion unless we're actively trying to like offer things to people, right? So if there isn't any kind of people pleasing or codependence that you're working through, that's just something to keep in mind. But yeah, you can shine your light and share that kindness and compassion with people, and you can put boundaries on it. And then the people that you are safe to share a little bit extra with, the people who see you and appreciate you, then it's like, yeah, you can go all in. And I think in terms of love, the best way to feel and connect with and attract more love is to embody it yourself. Connect with love for yourself, appreciation for yourself, know your worth, right? And to be moved by love, to move with love, to speak with love toward other people. That's what will attract more. So it's kind of like examining your intentions and knowing that you don't have to give your power away, and you don't have to listen to anyone who's trying to dim your light or dim your shine, right? So it's kind of like, that was the vibe that I was getting. But then it's also like there may be excitement to kind of share your light with people. Maybe maybe you haven't had a lot of opportunities to connect with people on that level, or to share what you have to offer, to speak your truth with like-minded people. Or maybe you've been interacting with the wrong people who've been leaving you feeling discouraged and drained, and you're excited to start connecting with people who are going to receive and reciprocate that energy. And then the second channeled message that came through was, anything you can do, I can do better. So that's the song from Annie Get Your Gun. You may or may not know what I'm talking about, but anyways, I would recommend after this reading is done, just make a note, look it up, Google it, give it a listen. It's kind of an annoying song. It gets really repetitive, and there's so many different lyrics. Not different lyrics, but so many lyrics. It's a long song, but check it out and see how it resonates for you, because it's kind of like that competitiveness, that one-upmanship. Anything you can do, I can do better. No, you can't. Yes, I can. So, and it's between her and a man, and the man is telling her like, no, you can't. And he was like, well, I can do this better than you. And she's like, well, no, I can always do it better than you. Like there's like this back and forth argument. So it is possible that you've been put in a position where you're being tested, or you're feeling as though you have to prove your worth. This could come from an empowering place where you're like, yeah, I'm totally capable. Like, maybe people are treating you like they need to go easy on you, and you're like, no, I can take it. I can do what I used to do. I can do what you do. Or it might be, how do I word this? I don't want to say insidious. It might just be less innocent, less playful, right? And it might be somebody who's actually challenging you to measure yourself up to them, or expecting that you're going to measure yourself by their success and their skills and their values, and you're feeling like you're always having to either keep up or fight to be considered an equal, or having to go above and beyond to prove that you can do more than a person because they're underestimating you or they're putting limitations on you. So there could be like a little bit of conflict in that sense. So I would say just be aware of that, any kind of competition, any need to prove yourself, anyone who's telling you like, no, you can't, and just how that's sitting with you. Is anyone playing games with you? Are you playing games with somebody else? Is that engagement or that interaction like true and loving and healthy and aligned for you? Because sometimes we can get dragged into a game that we don't want to play, and we might not even realize it. So I'm not saying that has to be the case, but that's just something to keep in mind. And it could also be that someone who has that kind of competitive attitude and needs to prove themselves, or needs to kind of incite competition, might be in your area, like in your environment, might have their eye on you, might be targeting you. And also sometimes when we begin sharing our light and sharing our voice and standing up for ourselves, and spreading love and just connecting with ourselves more authentically, sometimes that threatens other people. They don't know how to receive it. Maybe they don't know how to do that for themselves. And sometimes that can make us a target for people who feel uncomfortable as a result of us shining our light. And because they're triggered, they can feel inclined to compete or to try and outdo you. So it might be something like that. I don't know. It's kind of complicated, but I'm going to get you your final oracle message and then a couple of affirmations. All right. It's funny. We're just talking about shining your light, and the oracle card that you got is the Age of Light. You've been training for this for lifetimes. Sorry, there's kind of glare. I'm recording at night, so it's hard to get the lighting right so that the cards are clear. Maybe I'll put this here. All right, so I'm going to read this directly from the guidebook. Let me just find it here. All right. The Age of Light. You've been training for this for lifetimes. Mystics and sages throughout the ages have predicted this period in history, and you decided to incarnate in the middle of it. There is no mistake that you are supposed to be here at this time of great change. If you ever feel unprepared or daunted by the path that is calling you, know this. You've been training for this for lifetimes. You're way more than the days that have breathed through you in this life. You're also all of the lifetimes that came before. All of these experiences have polished your soul into the most magnificent expression that is your authentic self. Your soul has many facets. Imagine a fingerprint. Your soul is 1,000,000 times more intricate than that. If you put together all of the fingerprints of all of the people you have been, you would not even get close to fathoming how much of a unique masterpiece you are. You came in with a clear soul plan. You came in with wisdom beyond your years. This is the part of you that longs to be seen. This is the part of you that is ready to step forward, that is ready to emerge. This is not the lifetime to stay hidden, but to step forth, be seen, and rise. And then there's an activation if you're interested in doing it. So it says, hold the card on your heart or envision yourself doing that and say, I call forth the soul gifts and soul training that I have received throughout all of my lifetimes. I am ready to embody them all now without hesitation and without fear. I have been training for this for lifetimes. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. And when we say like rejection is divine protection and it's a no, like it could be related to this, like maybe what you've been focused on and the path or the goal that you're trying to work toward, although being really important to you, maybe it's not in your highest good right now. Like maybe what is kind of being woven and what you're being redirected to has more to do with some kind of spiritual awakening or awakening in terms of the purpose that you came here to serve and honoring and sharing your most authentic self, right? So perhaps whatever it is that you were like, you've been on the fence about, or you've been kind of considering that the not for you pertains to, yeah, it could be that this is the direction. It's maybe trying to pursue that or force that would inevitably take you further away from stepping into this energy. So I don't know. That's hopeful. At least it's kind of a nice accompaniment to the not for you, because it's basically saying like you think you know what you want and it's not working out. So trust that there's something better being woven for you, even if it's something that is not even on your radar, even if it's something that's completely out of left field that you never would have even considered. You never know how much things can change over a short period of time. So yeah, and yeah, I don't know, you guys may be having a little bit of a spiritual awakening. Relationships are assignments for optimal growth and healing. So this is a reminder that for better or for worse, some people are in our lives for a season, some are in for a lifetime. Some people just come to test us and help us, learn to step into our light and stand up for ourselves. Some people, teach us love. So it's remembering that as much as companionship is an important part of the human experience, we do the bulk of our learning and growing through our relationship to an interaction with others. So, almost every person that we meet, potentially has something to offer or a lesson to help us kind of work through. I trust that my gut reaction is the truth underneath the surface of my fears. So that has to do with your intuition, trusting yourself, what you know to be right, especially if you have a sense that something isn't for you. It's not feeling as though you just have to put your head down and work harder and make it happen. It's like you are totally allowed to honor your truth, and not let fear get the best of you, because this is kind of what I was picking up on in the challenge, is that there might be just like fear, uncertainty that's blocking you from taking action or moving forward on something. And finally, I am not the victim, I am the lighthouse. So again, with sharing your light, right? So as difficult as things may be, if you came here to see the light and to shine the light for others, to set an example, so that's not only going to be beneficial for you, but it's going to impact others positively. And it's also going to set a positive example for other people to embrace, their authenticity and to share of themselves more openly. And so if you've been training for this for lifetimes, it's kind of saying, as easy as it is to look at our situation, from the ground, when we're in the middle of it, we don't necessarily have a lot of perspective. It can be really easy to feel as though we're being victimized by others or by life or by the universe, particularly if there are things that are being withheld from us or eluding us. And this is kind of a reassurance that as much as it may feel victimizing, and as much as you may have some really difficult emotions to process, I don't want to negate that at all, because it's not an easy experience. But this is basically saying you can trust that anything that's challenging to you, it's not reflective of your worth, because you didn't come here to be victimized. You came here to be the lighthouse for others. So you're the one that helps other people navigate home, right? You're kind of like that comfort and that constant in their lives. And in fulfilling that and having those types of interactions, that's going to be fulfilling for you as well. So yeah, I don't know. Very interesting. So Cancer, I'm going to leave your reading here. I hope that you enjoyed. If you did enjoy, the best way to support me is to like this video on YouTube or leave me a comment. Let me know what you think or how it resonated. Beyond that, if there's anyone you can think of that might be interested in my readings, you can feel free to share my content with them. If you haven't already, you can hop over to my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot, check out my other videos, and make sure that you hit subscribe and that you click the little bell icon to ensure you're signed up for notifications, as that will keep you up to date on all new videos as they're posted. So Cancer, I'm wishing you all the very best this January. I hope that everything goes smoothly for you and you work through this energy. It's been an absolute pleasure reading for you, and I'm very excited to connect with you again in the future and do more reading for you. But in the meantime, I'm wishing you all the best.